Not really a rivalry game, but Miami is going on the road up north to Pittsburgh, where Friday night when they lay their head on the pillow at the hotel, whatever their hotel they're staying at, the feels like temperature is going to be 17 degrees, and the high feels like temperature on Saturday is going to be 30. Um, Low chance for precipitation, so that's good. But you're always interested to see how the boys down from South Beach, when they travel up north, when they're not playing Syracuse in the Dome, how they perform outdoors in November. So ACC schedule makers, I know the ACC is really fighting hard for Miami, and they're probably really regretting giving them a game in Pittsburgh to end the year. Um, didn't do themselves many favors there, but right now Miami is 6.5-point favorites. The game is at noon on ABC, so get your split screens ready there with Ohio State and Michigan, because this one is sure to be a good one as well. Ever since this Mason Heinzel kid took over, true freshman from Pitt, when they didn't play Notre Dame, man, like he's just been lighting guys up. And I know, it's probably a step up in competition. Miami's probably the most talented roster, not probably, they're the most talented roster in the ACC, and it's going to be another step up in competition. And I don't think it's quite going to be the same as Notre Dame. Notre Dame was more physical with them, and I think Pittsburgh's going to be able to do some stuff against Miami, but anxious to see how Pittsburgh and that Pat Narduzzi, defensive minded head coach, what do they do to make Carson Beck uncomfortable? And what do they do to contain a guy like Malachi Tony? Because again, you talk back to that Notre Dame game, he said at the very beginning of that week that they didn't really care about that game when they kind of played like it. All they wanted to do was win the next two, and they sure showed it in Atlanta, 42-28 against Georgia Tech. Now it's his turn to back it up again against the Hurricanes.
Yeah, dude, Heinzel's been so good for Pitt in ACC play. Like, he was not great against Notre Dame, obviously, but he's been so good in ACC play. So I'm interested to see how Miami's got some dudes that can get after you from a pass rushing perspective. They've got two of the best combo of pass rushers in all of college football. And so how Pitt and that Cade Bell offense handles those pass rushers and how they combat that and how they use some. I'm sure they're going to probably try to use the quick game, screen game, things like that. Try to some of the best. I mean, again, they're really good against the run too. That's what the Miami defensive front is. But sometimes one of the best things you can do against two really elite pass rushers is run right at them and try to slow them down to where they're just not pinning their ears back and getting upfield. But again, Miami's been really good at stopping the run too in that matchup. So this just comes down for me, man, is if you get the really good version of Carson Beck, that's what we just got this past week against Virginia Tech, and you got him a couple of times earlier in the year, then, I mean, Miami should be fine. But the problem is you don't know in some of these matchups what version of Carson Beck that you're getting. And in a matchup to where Pitt is good enough offensively, kind of like SMU with Kevin Jennings is, Pitt's good enough offensively to score some points on Miami. Like, Miami's got dudes on defense, and like Corey Hatham has done an incredible job there at DC. But Pitt is good enough, and their scheme is good enough with Cade Bell, and like Mason Heinzel's been good enough this year that if they give him time, that they can score. And if they're putting pressure on you offensively to making it to where Miami has to come out, and now they've got to also keep up too and be able to score with you, and it creates pressure on that Miami offense they have to keep up and score as well. That will you get a different the bad version of Carson Beck in that game? Do you think that Pitt can slow down Malachi Tony?
Oh man, have we seen anybody slow him down at all this year?
Not really.
Yeah, you're not going to shut him down. You might be able to slow him down. I think they're going to be able to contain the Miami running game, but yeah, it's been that secondary that people have taken advantage of, and we saw, like you said, Malachi Fields with a couple touchdowns a couple weeks ago. Carson Beck's going to have his opportunities, and yeah, Shannon Dawson has done a great job of getting the ball into Malachi Tony's hands a ton this year. I mean, they do tons of screen passes. They somehow just scheme him open on crossing routes and everything. So that will be there.
And Pitt's been pretty solid against the run. I mean, they held Georgia Tech to only 3.7 yards a carry, but like they jumped out on Georgia Tech so much that like it's kind of tough to gauge that game and use that game as a barometer for Pitt stopping the run because like
Yeah.
Georgia Tech didn't really they couldn't really just line up and still run the football as much as they wanted to because they were down 28 nothing before they could blink.
Mhm.
So I do think that I mean we know Pat Narduzzi, man. I mean that he's always got a tough defensive line, a tough defensive front. Like again, there's like a stat out there that shows there's nobody that's been better at taking 3-star, like less than five, like blue chip recruits, non blue chip recruits, and turning them into NFL draft picks than Pat Narduzzi has. Than he's been on along the defensive front.
Yep.
And he's got some dudes along the defensive front that can be problematic and cause problems for Miami. Miami's got a really good offensive line that obviously that can travel. But again, dude, it's just hard to Miami's just so hard to handicap because they're
Yeah.
talented enough to go out and beat a Notre Dame if they
Yeah.
play well, or just absolutely demolish South Florida and Florida.
Yep.
But they're also so inconsistent, and their quarterback is so inconsistent that they can throw 4 picks against Louisville, and they can come out and their head coach can play not to lose and shorten the game against a lesser talented SMU team, and then you lose that game.
Yep.
So, and you also don't know how they're going to be in cold weather. Again, I don't have a best bet. If I was going to give a best bet, I think I would take Miami to win, but Pitt to cover
Mhm.
in
Yeah, a
this
couple
game.
things to note. I mean, Pittsburgh is forcing turnovers at almost 2 a game, 12th in the country, and obviously we know Carson Beck loves to put the ball in danger, so I think that's an advantage Pittsburgh there. You wanna talk penalties, both these teams are just absolutely atrocious, and I don't know if this is an ACC thing, I'd have to dig into that, but Miami's 135th out of 136th in penalties per game,
Really?
and Pitt is 131st, in penalties per game. Now where it
There's
gets
yellow
for
handkerchiefs all over the field.
yeah, where it gets different is that I don't know if the ACC officials are doing some favors, but Miami's opponents average about as same amount of penalties they get per game, 8.1. Pitt's opponents only get flagged 4.6% of the or 4.6 times a game.
Narduzzi will say that's probably a conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah, he for sure will. I mean, you got fifth in the country for your opponents, getting penalties and everything. So that's kind of like the opposite of Ohio State. So best bet in this game, I'm taking Pittsburgh plus 6.5. And who knows? We might see them later on in the episode for a certain segment. So I think Pittsburgh gets the job done. I think they keep it within that 6.5.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that cold weather, like, again, like Miami's been just kind of focusing on, they didn't cover this last week at Virginia Tech. I was on the Hokies plus 17.5 there, barely got the cover. So, ending with 2 straight road games, especially this one in cold weather, like really cold weather. It's gonna be tough. Hey, guys, it's Thanksgiving week, so obviously we're very thankful for you guys tuning in with us, listening, following along. It's been a heck of a ride this season. Hope you enjoy rivalry week. We got some football on Thursday night with a little Navy Memphis. You get a little Black Friday ball and obviously some Saturday ball. And then we'll be back later on in the weekend to recap all that is rivalry week and get you ready for conference championship weekend. For Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great Thanksgiving weekend, and we will see you next time.